Recently in photography groups on social media, I've noticed a lot of people sharing images that look something like this. And they ask the question, is there something wrong with my camera or my lens? It's actually neither of those, and it's caused by the environment, and it's one of the #1 killers of sharp shots. Heat refraction, heat haze, heat shimmer, heat distortion, whatever name it goes by, most of the time you don't even know it's happening until you get home and you look at your shots on your computer. So in this video, we're going to talk about what exactly heat haze is and things that you can look for out in the field and changes that you can make to prevent it from happening to your shots. So what exactly is heat haze? Heat haze occurs whenever there's differences in surface and air temperatures. These variations in air temperatures create differences in air density, which in turn refract light in unpredictable ways. This results in a shimmering, wavy distortion effect, especially whenever you're shooting over long distances, as we often are in wildlife photography. When the ground heats up from the sun, asphalt, rocks, or other surfaces, it warms the air directly above it. The warmer air is less dense than the cooler air, and light passing through layers of air with different densities bends and refracts unpredictably, causing objects to appear distorted. So, what can we do? One of the easiest, most difficult ways, if that makes sense, is just to get closer to your subject. So whenever you reduce the amount of space between your lens and your subject, there's going to be less refracted air. So your images will have less blurriness and waviness, allowing you to get sharper shots. In wildlife photography, getting closer to subjects is not always a simple solution. A lot of times your subjects are going to be skittish and run off or fly away. I'll put a link to a video that I made about getting closer to your subjects in the description. Heat shimmer can occur both in warm environments and cold environments, and I think that a lot of times people don't consider that this is an issue whenever it's cold outside, but it definitely happens quite often, especially whenever you're shooting across ice on a lake. Even if it's just slightly warmer than freezing outside, the coldness of the ice meeting that slightly warmer air is going to create the shimmer effect that will destroy your shots. And of course, it's going to happen in the summer as well. Here's an image of a bald eagle that I took way off in a field, and it was very warm that day. And even though I was slightly elevated, shooting across, the warm field made it difficult to capture a clear image. Another way to combat this issue is to remove your lens hood. And I know it sounds crazy, but consider this. It's a very cold day and you're driving around in your vehicle looking for wildlife. You're trying to stay warm, so the heat is running in the vehicle. Your camera and lens hood are now warmer, closer to the air temperature of the vehicle than they are outside. Whenever you jump out, the lens hood, the environment that's created in there between the lens and the hood, is kind of creating its own sub-environment, and now you have to shoot through that haze that's created until the lens hood becomes the same temperature as the outside. Sometimes, depending on the temperature outside, it might not take very long, but sometimes you only have that split second to shoot your shot. So remove your lens hood if you are driving around in a warmer car, and you'll have a better chance of avoiding that heat haze that is built up inside the lens. That said, driving around in your car, you're really better off keeping the car cold. And that's especially important if you remain in your car. Whenever you open up that window, if it's warm inside and it's cold outside, you're going to have heat haze. You're going to have that refraction occurring that you're going to have to photograph through. The other day I was photographing and there were 2 cars stopped where I was at and they were running. And the exhaust coming out of those vehicles was coming back my way. I had to shoot through it, and as a result, my images did not come out sharp. Right now it's the middle of the day and the sun is at its brightest and hottest, which is going to make heat haze worse. And that's why I'm making this video right now. So rather than shooting at this point of the day, you're going to want to consider shooting early or late to minimize the effect the environment has in creating that refraction. We all love those ground level shots that put us right into the critter's environment. However, whenever heat haze is an issue, shooting at ground level is actually maybe one of the worst things that you can do. So Really what you need to do is maybe raise your shooting angle, but even at that, it's probably still going to be difficult if the heat haze is significant. So if we're talking about birds, I like to just wait until they take off, and then hopefully they're going to be flying above where that shimmer is affecting the image. Be aware that telephoto lenses are going to make the problem even worse because they're going to compress the distance, compressing all of that environment between the subject and the lens. So maybe it's better just to try to get an environmental shot. And that being said, whenever you crop in, you're just going to exaggerate the issue that exists. Your autofocus system is going to struggle whenever heat haze is prevalent as well. Just think about it. That haze is going past and it's kind of disrupting how far or close the subject seems to the autofocus system. So you might actually consider going manual if this is a serious problem and you're just dead set on getting that exact shot. And finally, shoot a bunch of shots, just like as if you were shooting in snow or rain with the precipitation coming down. It's going to fall into the face and key sections of your subject. Heat haze is no different. Heat haze is probably more consistent, and that's why a bunch of shots are going to be necessary to hopefully be able to pull off one that might not have this be such an issue. I hope that by understanding that this problem exists, you're better able to recognize it out in the field. And rather than spending time making a bunch of images that are just never going to look right, you can reposition yourself in anticipation of the critter changing its position and be able to capture images that you're going to be happy with, that are going to be tack sharp and clear. I hope that this video helps you out. If it did, leave a comment down below and check out this video over here. I'll see you there.